Education advocates say the increase in spending for this year's state budget is a win.
However, some say it comes at a big cost. Erie News Now state capitol correspondent Brendan Scanlon joins us now live to break down the charter school regulations that were repealed during the course of the budget negotiations. Brendan.
Yeah, Mike and Eva, good evening. Well, those regulations that were approved in March were originally promulgated by the Wolf administration in order to clarify the 25-year-old charter school law. Now, those opposed to the regulations from the beginning say that they went too far and were happy to see them tossed. Those in favor say they would have provided some overdue transparency and accountability.
The only people who benefit from these regulations being tossed are the bad players in the charter school industry.
For Susan Spica with Education Voters of Pennsylvania, some of the regulations should be a no-brainer. For example, holding charter school trustees to the Public Official and Employee Ethics Act.
You're sitting on the board of a public school. You should have no financial interest in it. You should not be using your position to have financial gain. I don't understand why the charter schools were so upset about that.
Charter advocates like Dr. Ann Clark say the regulations would have done more harm than good. One example, having to match employee health insurance with authorizing districts.
But in our very small charter schools, that would be a huge financial burden.
Quite frankly, I think it was to put a financial burden on them.
State Senator Scott Martin believes the regulations were an overstep by the Wolf administration.
There's a huge difference between expanding the definition of something or creating regulation for something compared to creating new law. That falls under the purview of the General Assembly.
But Spica says matching health care has been the law for decades.
That was not breaking new ground. That is in the law. And so apparently charter schools are violating that law.
Charters say they're for accountability, but tired of it being one-sided.
You see the regulations on the charter school side of it, but where do you see the accountability on the authorizer side?
When we have consistently failing schools, what's interesting is that I don't hear this same commitment to accountability to the schools that traditionally we're giving the most money to across the whole state per student, yet they continue to fail these students so that those families are looking for other opportunities.
Any kind of oversight is something that the charter schools are going to buck up against.
And even though we saw major funding wins for both sides in the new state budget, as you can hear, this debate is far from over. We'll have more information on some of that reaction as well as on those regulations up on our website, erienewsnow.com. But for now, live inside the state capitol for Erie News Now, I'm Brendan Scanlon.